Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the headlines first. Indian troops have martyred 4 civilians in occupied Jammu and Kashmir Shopian district. The youths were targeted during violent cordon and search operations in Saudiled area of the district. The operation was going on till last reports came in. India has reported this year's highest COVID-19 deaths and infections for the second day in a row. The Indian Health Ministry says 212 people lost their lives to the virus and nearly 47,000 tested positive in a day. Pakistan has registered more than 3,600 new cases and 20 more deaths overnight, pushing the toll to over 13,800. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.7 million lives and infected more than 123 million people so far. The Saudi-led coalition says it has killed a senior Houthi leader and destroyed their missiles and drones assembling facilities in Yemen. The coalition said it carried out several airstrikes on the Houthi-controlled Yemeni capital Sana'a and the eastern Marib province. Meanwhile, the rebels said the coalition strikes targeted the Sana'a airport. Russia says high-level cooperation between Beijing and Moscow is necessary to counter the hegemonic designs of some Western countries led by the United States. In an interview ahead of his visit to China, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the U.S. is hindering the formation of a truly multipolar and democratic world. In Australia, the government has declared a natural disaster in large swathes of New South Wales after the worst floods in century hit the country. Thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate as the disaster has paralysed rail deliveries and left much of the livestock dead. Today's round of intense rainfall has worsened the situation, while heavy rains are expected to continue in the upcoming week. And in football, Barcelona have outclassed Real Sociedad 6-1 in their Spanish La Liga face-off. Lionel Messi celebrated a record-breaking 768th appearance for Barca with 2 goals. The win takes Barca back to the second place on the table with 62 points, 2 clear of third-place arch rivals Real Madrid. These were top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. Indian troops have martyred 4 civilians in occupied Jammu and Kashmir Shopian district. The youths were targeted during violent cordon and search operation in the Manihal area of the district. The identity of the martyred youth is yet to be ascertained. The Indian authorities shut mobile communication and internet in the area. The operation was going on till the last reports came in. India has reported this year's highest COVID-19 deaths and infections for the second day in a row. The Indian Health Ministry says 212 people lost their lives to the virus and nearly 47,000 tested positive in a day. While globally, the virus has claimed over 2.7 million lives and infected more than 123 million people. More on the coronavirus in this report.
While a handful of nations have bottled much of the COVID-19, many still remain in its deadly grip as the world welcomes the second spring in the pandemic. U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention says the country has administered 124.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines so far. However, in South America, deaths and cases continue to spike. Brazil has recorded over 1,200 COVID-19 deaths and nearly 48,000 cases in the past 24 hours. Chile reported its highest daily count of new infections despite widespread restrictions and widely praised progress on vaccinations. Mexico's archaeological attraction, the Pyramid of the Sun, remained closed at the Spring Equinox Festival.
Last year, this festival took place at the start of the pandemic, so they closed everything nationally. And now it has been repeated all over again as a precaution due to the pandemic. But I still wanted to come to this place and experiment with the spiritual peace that you find here.
The European Union has strongly rejected the British government's calls to ship AstraZeneca vaccines produced in a factory in the Netherlands. Meanwhile, Germany is set to extend a lockdown to contain the pandemic after spiking infection rates threaten the healthcare system. In France, health workers soldiered on with the country's COVID vaccination drive on the second day of a new lockdown in parts of the country.
To make vaccinations more efficient, I think today we are at a moment when we are told that doses will arrive, especially AstraZeneca. For example, in Paris, we are told that we can expect around 50,000 doses per week. So I suggest that we open the vaccination so that all those who wanted to get vaccinated could do so.
In Asia, the fresh outbreak in India's richest Maharashtra state is driving the country's overall cases to new highs in many months. The second virus surge grips the country as it marks 1-year anniversary of abrupt lockdown creating chaotic conditions.
Well, in Pakistan, more than 3,600 people have contracted the coronavirus overnight as the country grapples with a rise in the infections. The Health Ministry said another 20 people have died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. It said a total of 13,863 people have died from the disease. Over 630,000 cases have been detected so far, of which more than 580,000 have recovered. The ministry said the number of active cases across the country has topped 33,000. It added over 2,400 patients are in critical condition. Now, the Saudi-led coalition says it has killed a senior Houthi leader and destroyed their missiles and drones assembling facilities in Yemen. The coalition said it carried out several airstrikes on the Houthi-controlled Yemeni capital Sana'a and the eastern Marib province. Meanwhile, the rebels said the coalition strikes targeted the Sana'a airport. They said the coalition also launched 3 air raids in the coastal province of Al-Hudaydah and the northern Amran province. The Saudi-led coalition has stepped up its airstrikes against Houthi positions in retaliation against the increased attacks on the kingdom. Now, Russia says high-level cooperation between Beijing and Moscow is necessary to counter the hegemonic designs of some Western countries led by the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov made the remarks in an interview ahead of his 2-day visit to China. Lavrov said Washington is hindering the formation of a truly multipolar and democratic world. He said Moscow and Beijing will continue to jointly promote the global multipolar development and regional integration. Lavrov added it is a top priority for the two countries to ensure a fair and stable international and regional order. Talking about sanctions, he slammed the US and other Western countries for abandoning their diplomatic etiquette. Now, Jordan says its recent defense agreement with the United States does not harm the kingdom's sovereignty. Jordan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said this in a parliamentary address. Safadi said the agreement is subject to Jordanian and international laws and is exclusive to fight terrorism. The deal allows free entry and exit of American troops, aircraft and vehicles into the Jordan territory. Under the deal, American military personnel can transport and stock equipment on the kingdom's territory. The deal signed in January bypassing the kingdom's parliament in an extraordinary move. Now moving to Myanmar, where the defiant anti-coup demonstrators have held more protests after security forces killed 2 more people overnight. A motorcycle rally marked the 1-month anniversary of the country's biggest anti-military demo held on February 22nd. Protesters drove through intersections honking horns while displaying 3-finger anti-coup salutes. Security forces have also started detaining charity workers and paramedics who aided wounded protesters in Yangon. Now, activists say more than 250 people have been killed since the February 1st military coup. Moving on, North Korean envoys in Malaysia have shuttered their embassy and flown out of the country. This comes after Pyongyang severed diplomatic ties with Kuala Lumpur over the extradition of a citizen to the US. The North Korean flag and embassy signage were removed from the premise in a suburb of Kuala Lumpur. After Pyongyang cut ties, Malaysia gave North Korean diplomats 48 hours to leave the country. Malaysian Foreign Minister Hishamuddin Hussein said the expulsion was in response to Pyongyang's irresponsible decision to sever diplomatic ties. Ties between the two countries have been virtually frozen since the assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's half-brother in 2017. Malaysia never officially accused Pyongyang of involvement in Kim's death, but prosecutors suspect a North Korean connection. Now, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation has welcomed Sri Lanka's decision to bury Muslims that have died due to COVID-19. OIC Secretary-General Dr. Yusuf Al-Uthaymin said this in a phone call with Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. During the talks, the Secretary-General reaffirmed OIC's interest to defend the rights of Muslims in non-member states. Al-Uthaymin lauded Rajapaksa's willingness to open up and reach out to international organizations. Earlier this month, Sri Lanka unveiled a new de-radicalization law and announced plans to ban the wearing of burqas and shut madrasas. The OIC and Human Rights Watch condemned the move and urged Sri Lanka to allow Muslims to practice their religion freely. Now, in the United Kingdom, several people have been injured in clashes between police and protesters at a demonstration against a government bill. The bill gives police new powers to restrict protests. Thousands of people gathered in England's western Bristol city for the Kill the Bill protest. Protesters set fire to a police vehicle aimed at fireworks at officers and scaled a police building. Police said a few hundred people resorted to violence following a peaceful rally and attacked the security personnel. Now, France has rescued 72 migrants in the English Channel. The French maritime authorities say all rescued refugees are in good health. Authorities said the vessel of the refugees ran into difficulties just off the coast from the port city of Calais. They said the migrants were travelling to the UK. No injuries were reported and the migrants were handed over to the border police. Former US President Donald Trump is set to return to social media with his own platform in the next 2 to 3 months. In an interview, Trump's advisor Jason Miller said the new platform will completely redefine the game. Miller said it will be the hottest ticket in social media. He noted the former president already had high-powered meetings with various teams regarding the venture. Miller predicted Trump will draw tens of millions of people to his massive platform. The former president was suspended from Twitter and Facebook following January's deadly riots at the U.S. Capitol in Washington. More news coming up in this news bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, in Australia, the government has declared a national disaster in large swathes of New South Wales after the worst floods in a century in the country. Thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate as the disaster has paralysed rail deliveries and left much of the livestock dead. Authorities said around 18,000 people have already been evacuated from low-lying areas of New South Wales. Today's round of intense rainfall has worsened the situation, while heavy rains are expected to continue in the upcoming weeks. Meanwhile, a severe flood warning has been issued for large parts of the state as well as neighbouring Queensland. Now, Mexico has deployed helicopters and soldiers to help firefighters battle dozens of raging wildfires in the northern state of Nuevo León. Officials say the country registered 50 fires across 12 states on Sunday alone. They say the raging wildfires burned through thousands of hectares of prime forest. The Cumbres de Monterrey National Park in Sierra de Santiago remains one of the worst affected. The hot and dry weather has been blamed for the increase in wildfires. Last year, Mexico registered 5,583 wildfires, affecting nearly 310,000 hectares of grassland. Now in Colombia, a zoo has enlisted a pianist to help soothe its animals with some of the world's most famous classical compositions. Do animals enjoy music as much as humans do? Let's find out in this report.
German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "Without music, life would be a mistake." It seems like this quote is not applicable to only humans, since virtually everything has its sound. Music is present in nature. It also has different physiological effects on animals. Officials at Colombia's Cali Zoo say new sensory experience is having a calming effect on animals as diverse as zebras, loins, and ostriches.
Many of the activities that enrich sound and senses are very beneficial to animals, of course under controlled conditions, and always for their welfare and tranquility.
Interest in the use of music therapy as a behavioral enrichment tool in veterinary medicine is growing. Various researchers indicate that animals appear less stressed or anxious when exposed to classical music than to controlled conditions. Pianist Mario Fernando Prado is very happy to be a part of it.
I feel happy. I feel content. I think playing for an animal is something that is very interesting. I have never played for, well yes, I have played for many animals, but the two-legged kind.
The administration of Cali Zoo is hopeful that their debut pianist will pave the way for other musical acts to entertain their wild animals.
Now, markets in the Asia-Pacific are trading mixed as investors responded to a pullback in Treasury yields at the start of the week. Markets also responded to the tumbling of Turkey's lira after the president ousted the central bank governor. The Nikkei 225 in Japan is leading the losses, diving almost 2%, while Seoul's Kospi also slipped fractionally. Mainland Chinese stocks have gained over 1%. The shares in Hong Kong have also edged up. Australia's ASX 200 has ascended more than 0.5% as well. Now, a team representing the Pakistan Army has won a gold medal at the International Adventure Competition held in Nepal from March 18th to 21. The Army's media wing said the competition was aimed at testing physical endurance and mental agility. It added the 20-team event included cross-country running, cycling and rafting. The Pakistan Army was participating in the event for the first time. Now in football, Barcelona have outclassed Real Sociedad 6-1 in their Spanish La Liga face-off. The win takes Barca back to the second place on the table with 62 points, 2 clear of third-place arch-rivals Real Madrid.
Lionel Messi celebrated a record-breaking 768 appearances for Barca with 2 goals. In another fixture, leaders Atletico Madrid beat Alaves 1-0 to go 4 points clear atop league. Luis Suarez scored his 500th career goal, heading home Kieran Trippier's cross in the second half. Meanwhile, Leicester City reached their first FA Cup semi-final with a fully deserved 3-win over Manchester United. Brendan Rodgers' side will now face Southampton at Wembley in the semi-final. Chelsea also moved into the competition semi-finals after beating Sheffield United 2-0 at home. In English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur downed Aston Villa 2-0, while Arsenal drew West Ham United 3-3.
With that, we come to the end of this bulletin. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news. Take care.